Would you like to know what to do with all those wonderful fresh mushrooms you find in the farmer's market? My name's Mary Risley from San Francisco. I've been a cooking teacher for 40 years, and I'm going to show you an easy, fun soup with these mushrooms. Okay? What are these mushrooms? They used to be called wild mushrooms because people found them in the forests. And now they're kind of grown, cultivated, and they're trying to change the name to exotic mushrooms. These are shiitakes. These are creminis. This is, I think, an oyster mushroom, and I have no idea what this is. But I just bought a selection of mushrooms from my favorite mushroom guy at the farmer's market, and now I'm going to make a soup with it. And first, to start off with, I'm going to enhance the flavor of the soup by using some dried mushrooms. So I have some dried mushrooms that I'm going to put into a measuring cup and pour over some hot water to reconstitute them. And that's going to give an intense mushroom flavor to my soup. Then I'm going to drain some beans. These are, you can use any kind of white beans. And I'm using a canned beans, which are already cooked. So I'm just washing off the liquid that they're packed in. Why am I adding beans to a mushroom soup? Because it's adding protein and healthfulness. Mushrooms are a wonderful source of monosodium glutamate, but they're not very nutritional. Okay? Now I'm going to make some little pieces of toast or croutons. I'm taking a sourdough bread, a leftover bread if you have it, or fresh bread if you don't, and I'm just breaking it into little pieces to go in the top of the soup. I'm going to sprinkle it with a teaspoon of chopped garlic. I'm going to put on some thyme leaves from my garden. Just some rough thyme leaves, a little bit of olive oil, and I'm going to roast it in a 350 oven until it's kind of dry and lightly golden, okay? While my croutons are baking in the oven, I'm going to make my soup. And what I'd like to do is talk about how do you approach a recipe now. What you want to do is you cut your onions, you put them in the pot. The reason I cook the onions first and then add the garlic later is garlic is likely to burn. And if you burn the garlic, you're going to ruin the dish. So I always cook the onions first for about 5 minutes and then add the garlic. Okay, while that's cooking, I'm going to chop the mushrooms that I soaked in hot water. So these are porcini, the best flavored mushrooms for adding to a sauce or a soup are European porcinis. And this is, I'm just going to chop them up coarsely. So here we have the onion softening. I'm going to add a little bit of fresh thyme. This is the fresh thyme from my garden. Add some garlic. Dried porcini that have been reconstituted in water. Now I'm going to add my great northern beans. Now this is really important. When you're pouring out red wine into a glass, you don't pour out the last little bit of red wine because it might have sediment in it. The same thing is true of the liquid from the mushrooms. You want to pour the liquid from the mushrooms into the pot, except for that little bit on the bottom that might have some sand in it. Now I'm going to add 2 cups of chopped white or brown mushrooms. Okay? And now I'm going to add chicken, vegetable, or mushroom stock. And I'm going to let this cook for about 15 or 20 minutes until everything's soft. Then I'm going to blend it with an immersion blender. So my soup is cooking for 10 more minutes maybe. And now I'm going to prepare the garnish, which is whole little mushrooms. So what I'm going to do is take these little cute little mushrooms and cut them in half, or cut them in quarters, or cut off the little brown edges the little brown ends if they have them. So my goal in life now is to teach people to stop taking foods out of our diet and add foods to our diet. So we should add things like lentils and chickpeas and beans to our diet instead of taking foods out. My soup has been cooking now for 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. If I were to add more stock, more water, or a little bit of cream, whenever you add something to it, you need to let it cook for another 5 minutes just to get the flavors to meld. And now, here comes the fun part. This is an immersion blender, and I think they're only about $20. And what I want to do is turn off the heat, leave the pot on the stove, push this into the soup, and blend it like this. If you lift it up and put it down, lift it up and put it down, you'll get soup all over yourself. If you don't have one of these, you could transfer it to a real blender, a Waring blender, or a Cuisinart. It's just easier with this immersion blender. So I'm blending up the cooked mushrooms, the onions, the garlic, the white beans. I'm blending it to make a creamy mixture. Now I'm going to make my little garnish. This is a nonstick pan with nice hot butter, and I'm tossing in my garnish mushrooms. You want to cook them over a high heat so their liquid comes out, and then they cook in their own liquid for a few minutes with the butter and the salt and pepper. Okay, my fungi are getting sauteed and they're getting a little crispy in the butter with the salt and pepper. They're half wilted. Then I'm going to transfer them to a pan because the heat of the soup will warm them up again. Here are my warm plates. I'm going to put a little bit of croutons on the bottom of each one. I'm going to add some mushrooms, a little bit of crispy mushrooms on the bottom of the plate. Doesn't matter whether the mushrooms are hot or cold. This is my creamy mushroom soup for autumn. Fresh sprig of thyme on there. How does that look? Whoa, good enough to eat. My name is Mary Risley. I run a cooking school in San Francisco called Tante Marie's Cooking School, and my goal is to give you confidence to cook healthful food and seasonal food and have fun. So a mushroom walks into a bar and the bartender says, "We can't serve mushrooms." And the mushroom said, "Yeah, but I'm a fungi."